So welcome back to Reboot and this episode number 7. So as ever, thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes and all of the comments that you've made on my previous videos. I really do appreciate it. But for this video, I thought we would look into some of the practical steps that I took to exit my life in the rat race and rebuild my life here in Asia, and what the differences are in the quality of my life versus my life before. And for this video, I discovered literally 700 meters down the road from my home, the most beautiful art space and gallery called Theams. So I thought we would wander through Theams Gallery as we discuss this a little further. So until next time, bye bye. So welcome to Themes Gallery. It really is a beautiful space, just down the road from my home actually, but I had never discovered it before. So I hope you enjoy wandering through this incredible museum and gallery in Siem Reap. But to the subject, and talking about the stages that I went through to achieve my dream life. So I think, but if we first go back to the life that I had before, and my life, like the lives of many of us, was about working in a kind of groundhog way, following a routine that left little time or energy for me to live a happy or contented life. Just statistics show that many of us are unsatisfied with what we do and feel trapped in a cycle of repetition just to maintain living standards and pay the bills. For me, this was certainly the case. Even as my salary increased over time, to keep up with the Joneses, I bought a bigger house, a better car, more expensive toys. All of these things I found trapped me into this vicious circle or rat race. I was living paycheck to paycheck, something I'm sure that many can relate to. To reframe this slightly and look at these objects not as what they cost in dollars or pounds, but as the time it takes to pay for them, I had locked myself into my routine and had left myself with no choice but to maintain this lifestyle to effectively stand still. I would need the next 30 years or so to discharge the debt that I'd amassed. If you consider life expectancy, using a global average, to be just over 70 years, when I left the UK in 2020, I had already lived more than 60% of my life, and what did I have to show for it? A pile of debt, a life of repetition, and trapped due to my monthly commitments until retirement in a life that wasn't fulfilling. Is that what life is about? I didn't think so, and I'm so glad that I pulled the cord on that part of my life. That said, practically escaping the rat race isn't that easy. And if material possessions are more important to you than the quality of life, then this path wouldn't be the right one for you, at least not in the short term. That said, my experience is that this was only a short-term discomfort, as by finding satisfaction and happiness in my career and pursuing my passions, I was able to achieve financial freedom working a fraction of the hours that I did in the West. But for about 2 years, I did struggle. But in all honesty, I needed this time to figure out what the remaining 40% of my life would bring me. The circuit breaker I took in life was difficult whilst I was figuring this part out, but it also taught me a lot more about what is and what isn't important to me. So how did I do it? And for simplicity, I've broken this journey down into 3 phases. Phase 1 is the move. And phase 1 was largely about practical steps. So in a practical sense, step 1 was about reducing my monthly expenses. When I left, I had a very limited amount of money that I needed to last. So I reduced all my outgoings to a very bare or minimum level. I was able to reduce my outgoings from $5,000 a month to about 1. I gave back the objects that were draining me financially, and by reducing my fixed outgoings by 80%, I gave myself the opportunity to breathe, spend some time thinking about what I wanted to do for the second half of my life, and work towards this goal. Phase 1 was tough, sure. I had lived a life that was comfortable and had become normal for me. Phase 1 pushed me out of my comfort zone, and it was during this phase I moved to Asia. The second phase is what I call the hustle, and figuring out how I could survive. This taught me a lot about myself and how to be adaptable. I moved into phase 2 the moment I arrived in Asia, and I think I learnt more about my capabilities during this 2-year period than ever before in my life. I had definitely become complacent, and the humbling process I went through made me realise more the value of our fighting spirit. That said, if starting again is necessary, then the low cost of living in Asia, or at least this part of Southeast Asia, made it a realistic and practical option. However, that wasn't my motivation for moving to Cambodia, but it sure was helpful. We are, as humans, I've found, extremely resilient, and I think by pushing ourselves, we are constantly surprised by our ability to adapt to change. Change is constant in life. It's healthy, as by pushing our boundaries for our own personal development, we learn. In phase 2, I took on any and all jobs that would deliver a paycheck. Nothing was beneath me. During this period, I built websites for very little amounts of money and started working on some low-paying business development jobs that ultimately would pay off when results came in. I even took manual jobs that, whilst paying minimum wage, added to the excitement and adventure of living in Asia. I've talked on previous videos about pursuing your passions, having a positive mental attitude, the value of gratitude, and of removing attachments from our lives. This recipe for rebooting my life has been the foundation for what I'm creating, and life today versus where I was 4 years ago is a complete 360 degrees. I appreciate life more than ever before, and whilst objects no longer drive me, I do value them more than before, having had the experience in 2020 of leaving with nothing. So, if stage 1 was about reducing my expenditure, stage 2 was about the hustle, which lasted for 2 years, then phase 3 was about executing the plan, which is what I learnt about myself and what makes me happy, and how to turn this into a business. I've made an episode on following your passion and how I set up a business in Cambodia, which will go into more detail if you're interested in what I do now and how easy it was to set up and register the company. From a place of happiness and faith in the universe to support me, I have found more profound happiness than I think I've ever experienced in life before. I really love Cambodia, I love Siem Reap, I love the Khmer people, and the life that I've created here. My only regret is that I didn't make the move sooner, cutting the cord on a life that wasn't fulfilling a lot earlier rather than waiting for a depression to force me into a life change. So what is life like in Cambodia for me now? How does that compare to my life living in the rat race of business in the UK? So, the first thing is sleep. In the UK, I'd wake up at 6 a.m. Here I wake up when I've had enough sleep and I'm fully rested. I know that this is common sense, but just getting enough sleep means that the day is more productive. I hit my tasks with an energy I have never experienced before, and this translates into results. Working smarter, I achieve more in my day. I make sure that I do not work more than 8 hours a day and try to schedule meetings around my agenda, giving myself the time to get my personal goals accomplished. In the UK, I drive for an hour to get to the office. The office in my home is 50 metres from my bed, unless of course I'm working from the office in Phnom Penh, but to be honest, that's rare these days. I do think it's important though when you work from home to have a clear and dedicated space for work, so that you're not giving up your free time in your personal environment to tackle those emails or take that call. So I try to clearly differentiate my work from my personal life. To vary things up when I feel like it, I often work from a restaurant, a co-working space or a coffee shop, just to keep life interesting. My partner here works at the Siem Reap International Airport and often starts in the afternoon, working till about 9 p.m. in the evening. On these days I follow her hours so that we can spend time together. Owning my business also provides me with more freedom. As I mentioned on a previous video, I work with leading Western brands on business development throughout Asia. I'm incredibly selective with the brands that I work with, committing time to brands with products and solutions that genuinely excite me. Passion in my work has led to improved productivity and results that have been beneficial to the brands that I am engaged by, but also my return on the time that I've invested in business development. I'm also blessed with the opportunity to travel through the region. Visiting key retail and distribution partners, I'm seeing more of Asia fully funded by the companies I am working with. Again, I build in time for myself to fully experience the countries and cities that I'm visiting, rather than having to justify my hours or travel plans with an employer. The freedom to do what I want is intoxicating. So just to summarize, it was an incredibly challenging and difficult process to get where I am today, but I would not change anything. The time I spent in stages 1 or phase 1 and phase 2 taught me more about myself and what I needed to be happy in my life. And by actioning and following a plan, I have achieved a healthier work-life balance and am enjoying every single day.